One game that was barely on my radar at first was Genshin Impact. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it by now. One day I noticed several videos in my subscription feed that were about this game. I've only personally seen some screenshots and a few clips here and there, and basically it looked like Breath of the Wild but with anime girls. Which sounds good, but I just kind of brushed it off as a mobile game that I'll probably never play because I don't ever play games on my cell phone. But once I saw people's interest in the game and also the fact that it's actually a game that can be played on the PC, I figured, hey, I'd give it a shot. It's free after all. Ah, yes, free. It's actually free to play, which is always worrisome. It has gacha mechanics in regards to weapon and character acquisition. With stuff like this, I always wonder, can the game be fun if I don't spend any money on it? Is the fun hidden behind a paywall or not? In order to find that out, I decided to not spend any money on Genshin Impact at all. Something to keep in mind, because I know some people are really hardcore into this game. This video is from the perspective of someone who enjoys playing the game a few hours a day every couple of days. It's not a full-on review that goes into all the details of all the game mechanics, but rather more about how I've enjoyed the game over the last few weeks. My conclusion is yes, Genshin Impact is fun, even if you don't spend any money on it at all. It's better than I expected. It looks really cool, combat is decent, if a bit easy. It totally outright copies things from Breath of the Wild, not just the art style but also some game mechanics and landscapes. But at the same time it includes a lot of other game mechanics that are more RPG-ish. The game is available on iOS, Android, PS4 and PC with cross-save capability between the PC and mobile versions. None on the PS4. I read it has something to do with email addresses and how accounts work with consoles, but anyways, I'm not really sure how that works. A Switch version is planned with no release date mentioned yet, and there will be a PS5 version too. Before I go on about specifics, let's go through the basics of what the game is about, just to get people who haven't played Genshin Impact up to speed. In Genshin Impact, you play as one of two siblings. One's a guy, the other a girl. It doesn't really matter which one you choose, as the story is the same either way. Just whatever your preference is there. You and your sibling travel through different worlds, but then you encounter some sort of god who captures and seals either your brother or sister, depending on who you chose, and you end up trapped in that world, which is always really inconvenient. Then you finally get to the tutorial where you learn the basics. Actually, it's almost like I've done this before. Yep, there's climbing, gliding, cooking, as well as the familiar stamina system, though it's not all exactly the same like in Breath of the Wild. Climbing isn't affected by the rain here, and cooking food is different. But still, it's weird how certain things like the fire effect, and also that little twinkling that you see when you can pick up an item, and how that's exactly like in Breath of the Wild. You can even catch updrafts from burning grass. Not to mention the enemies are very much inspired by Zelda. It's not just the monsters that are copied, but also those camps, where you have to basically wipe them all out to unlock a chest. Yeah, that's here as well. But to me, the biggest difference is the fact that Genshin Impact has a lot of RPG elements. Zelda purposely avoids a lot of, number-based things, but that's not the case here. Not only do the characters have levels, there's also an adventure rank, which is basically the level of your account. You raise your adventure rank by doing quests, finding waypoints and locations, opening chests, and things like that. Character experience is obtained through fighting, though you can use items to level characters up, which is actually what you'll do most of the time. Many of the game's features are unlocked once you reach the appropriate adventure rank. I think that works out alright. The game seems to give you stuff to do to gain the required experience, so I never really had to resort to grinding. Plus, this method of staggering allows you to learn each new game mode or feature before moving on to the next thing. That way you're not bombarded with information right away. Overall, it doesn't take that long to progress through that part of the game, which is good. Fights aren't terribly hard. One thing people go on about is how Amber is apparently awful in combat, but I've made a rule of always having her in my party and using her in combat a lot. I don't really have a problem with Amber, though. Using her can result in longer fights. After all, certain characters do certain things better. It's more fun to switch characters while fighting, though, so that's what I've been doing lately. Usually I just use Amber to attack first, from a distance, and then I switch over. I don't know, just whatever I feel like, I guess. Figuring out attack patterns is pretty easy, as you have to just dodge every now and then. The enemies do get tougher, and there are different monsters in different regions. You can also raise the world level, which is something I haven't done yet. Characters can also use 2 different special attacks or abilities based on what element they specialize in. The first one is more simple with a cooldown period, while the other is more powerful and requires a meter to fill up by fighting. Some buffs can be used by other characters. For example, Noelle has that shield thingy, which stays active when you switch characters. Same thing is true with Barbara's health ability, or healing ability, rather. You can't explore all the regions right away. You have to progress through the game to get rid of the borders, which is fine, I think. Unlike Breath of the Wild, there aren't these giant towers, but, it's more like goddess statues. Those things are what unlock the map. Other than the main quest, there's also things like daily quests and side quests which you can do. Optionally, you can also play co-op with 3 other people for a total of 4. One thing that you're probably wondering about is the gacha part. That's kind of what the point of the video is about, right? Well, not exactly the specifics, but more about if the game is fun and, if the whole gacha part is forced upon you. Just to prepare myself, I actually did some research on gacha terms. I watched some videos about this game and I felt like I was missing some sort of English language expansion DLC. I know that the gacha thing derives from these ball vending machine thingies, but I didn't know much beyond that. Now I know what people are talking about, usually. To be honest though, I never really felt like I was forced or pushed to spend any money. There's no advertisement or anything like that. Basically, it's not there unless you specifically go to the wish menu. Also, if you look at your mailbox or, the news of events and stuff like that, so you'll see references there, but other than that, nothing really. A wish is this game's euphemism for a pull. You get a couple of characters in the beginning and it's fun just playing with those. You also have enough in-game currency to try your luck a few times. I'm not sure if I just got really lucky or not, but I did end up getting a couple of characters here and there. I even got Klee on the first try. Currently I am at the point where one would be tempted to spend money because getting in-game currency is slow otherwise. Not to mention kinda annoying. There's Acquaint Fate and Intertwined Fate, which is the currency used to make wishes. You can buy them with other various kinds of currencies, which you can either buy or get as a reward from doing various things. As you can imagine, it's a bit time-consuming to accumulate in-game currency compared to just spending money, but I don't really want to spend any money at the moment. The good thing is that the game doesn't really do anything to force you into wishing and trying to get better items or other characters. You can play the game just fine. Now that being said, I'm at Adventure Rank 20. I haven't gone and explored all the areas yet. Who knows how I'll feel about the game's later stages. But so far for a free game, I don't really have much to complain about. It's pretty refined. I haven't really experienced anything buggy or clunky. Currently I'm just having fun exploring and trying out the different characters in battle. There's a lot you can do, like upgrade weapons and things like that, so it always feels like there's something new to get into. At least that's how it feels right now for me. Of course, anybody with more experience can let me know in the comments what you think about the later stages of the game. By the time this video is out, I think the 1.1 update should be out. In fact, as I'm typing this sentence, Genshin Impact is undergoing maintenance for that update, so I'm curious to see how it is. Though I don't think, I'm pretty sure it won't degrade the experience, it'll just be more stuff, right? So, the game runs pretty well on my PC. I have an AMD Ryzen 5 3600X, 16GB of RAM, and now a bit of an older graphics card. It's an NVIDIA GTX 970. At 1080p, it runs at 60 frames per second, no problem, with all the settings maxed. Except that resolution thing, like where you can scale it up to like 1.5 or something. Yeah, I'll just give it a 1.1, I think. Or 1.2, something like that. If I go any higher than that, then it's not really that smooth anymore. For some reason, the footage I recorded doesn't look 60 frames per second. You might have noticed that. It fluctuates between 30 and 60. It doesn't look like that on my screen, but the recording does because of how I have to record it. Those of you who use OBS to record gameplay footage may know about this, but I have to use display capture, which often can result in lower FPS recordings. I can't get the game footage to be picked up with window or game captures, so that's the reason. It just ends up being black. So, yeah, not really a big deal for this type of video though. Speaking of frame rates, the game only allows you to choose between 30 and 60 FPS, so if you want more, well, you can't get more. There's some settings here and there to tweak the thingies. The PS4 version of the game looks good as well, but the game runs at 30 FPS. I do find it unfortunate that there's a lack of cross-save though. I think that would be cool if that could be implemented. I also tried it on my phone. I have an Android phone. It's a Motorola One Vision. I think it came out 2019. It needs to run at lower settings according to the red bar of death anyway. But even so, if I crank it up, I don't see much of a performance deficit. But I didn't play for that long because I'm not really, into playing touchscreen games. So maybe it's more of a thing where if you, crank it up too much, it'll start overheating or something. Apparently it is possible to play with a controller using Octopus or the paid version of that, so I might try that because I wouldn't mind playing it on my phone just to do some daily quests or rather, quickly dealt with tasks. I'm kind of doing that now anyways, but I think it would be more fun if I could use a controller. Anyway, the point is that the game seems to be quite playable on a recent budget phone with low settings without looking too ugly, though it's clearly low res. I also have another phone, a Nokia 6.1, which is I think a 2018 phone, kind of in the same price range, and that just doesn't work at all. I think the processor on that is just not good enough. It says it's not compatible with my device. Anyway, when it comes to that sort of stuff, there's definitely other people's stuff you want to watch when it comes to, mobile gaming specifics. So there you go. That's what I think about Genshin Impact. Some people say it feels like a AAA game. I can't really disagree. The fact it's free is a great bonus, and the cross-save feature is really cool. I like that I can just bring the game up on my phone just to do something small or check on something real quick, and then I can continue on the PC where I left off. Let me know what you think if you've played Genshin Impact yourself. I hope you found the video helpful or at least entertaining. If you liked the video and the content on the channel, consider becoming a supporter through Patreon. You get to see videos before they come out and get updates on whatever it is I'm working on. And the good thing is that if you do spend the money, you will guaranteed get those updates and those videos. So yeah, no gacha mechanics in Patreon. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.